my name is Jason with AlarmSystemStore.com, and in today's video I'm going to show you how to do the setup for the Alarm.com communicator on a DSC PowerSeries NEO. We're going to be doing it start to finish from the programming and then moving on to the wiring. Now, we always recommend you do the programming first before you finish wiring it to the actual control panel. This way you'll not run into any errors with the initialization process. So let's go to the table and we'll get started. Okay, so this is everything you'll get when you order the Alarm.com communicator. Specific model I have out here is the CD8080VZ, which you can see right here, CD8080. Basically that means it's a Verizon communicator without image sensor support. But whether or not you have the 3G 8080, CD8080, or have image sensor support for either of those models, won't matter for this video. It's the exact same process to get it all set up and ready to go. So, it comes with the communicator. This is the PCL422. It's a RS422 to PC-Link interface module. So you can see that it's got pins here. That's where you connect your PC-Link cable to. That'll go to the control panel. It's got your terminals here, which will connect to your communicator. And then it's got the 3 holes for mounting on the inside of your cabinet. And again, we'll go over all the details on that when we do the physical installation. This is your PC-Link cable. So you can see it's fairly short, so this PCL422 will need to be right next to your control panel. We have the manual here, and then we have mounting hardware for both the communicator as well as the standoffs for the PCL422. Now the manual itself is a useful resource. You can see it has a wiring guide here, which I'll go over how to do all that in the physical installation portion. And it also has some other information, kind of has a step-by-step guide. And one of the main areas you'll want to look at is your status LEDs. It goes over what each LED means and what the various flashes and things like that will mean. So let's get this cleared off and we'll move on. Got the keypad out here. A reason for that is the first thing you'll want to do before you wire the communicator to the control panel and power up is to do the programming. Reason for that is if you don't have the NEO panel ready to initialize with the Alarm.com communicator, it can cause some issues where it won't initialize properly. The only way that we found to fix that a lot of times is to do a hardware reset. So basically you'll have your system all programmed and then suddenly find your Alarm.com communicator isn't talking to your control panel, and you'll have to do a reset, start back from ground zero, and do all the programming again. So you can do only the Alarm.com communicator programming first if you'd like, or you can program your entire system, whichever way you're more comfortable with. For this video, I'm just going to show the couple steps you'll need to do to get the NEO ready to work properly with the Alarm.com communicator. So the first thing we'll do is enter programming with *8 and the installer code. Default is 5555. And the most important setting you'll need to change is section 382, option 5. So you can scroll over or just push 5, but alternate COM needs to be set to Y. If it's not set to Y, it won't look for the Alarm.com communicator when it's hooked up, and it won't initialize properly. So when you're on option 5, you can push star to toggle, or just push 5 will toggle as well. So if that's set on Y, you push pound. The second section that you want to check is section 300. Now this one's not as critical for the initialization, but it will affect how your actual communicator functions with Alarm.com. So you go to section 300, you'll push star on receiver 1, and you see it says phone line. We want to push right so that it says Alt-Com Auto and push star. So now receiver 1 is set to Alt-Com Auto. That just tells the system to use the Alarm.com communicator for its reporting with receiver 1. So then you just push pound until you're out of programming. It'll give you this error, account code not programmed. You can completely ignore that. It's not a big deal because the Alarm.com communicator is not going to be using the account code programmed on here. Only time that's going to be used is if you also are using a landline using the built-in phone dialer. Then obviously you'll need that programmed. But for the purpose of this, you can just ignore that and not worry about it. So that's really all there is for the programming. It's pretty simple, but you'll want to make sure you do those couple sections before you initialize the control panel with the Alarm.com communicator. Otherwise, you'll run into some issues. So now we're going to power down the alarm system, and I'll show you how to do the wiring. The first step for wiring up the Alarm.com communicator is going to be to mount the PC link board on the side of the cabinet. And you'll want to put it right here. I mean, you can put it other places, but we're going to be connecting from the PC link 2 here to the PC link here. Our cable's not that long. I mean, we can put it in other locations and still reach, but this is kind of the most out of the way, closest location. So we'll start by putting our standoffs through the cabinet in the holes that we'll be using to mount the board. And it's these 3 holes here. And then we'll line up the holes on the board with those. And they'll only line up in one direction, so you can't mount it in the wrong direction. So there you have it, snapped into place, it's not going anywhere. So the PC link cable will go from, again, PC link 2, so you have PC link 1, PC link 2. I'll try to get the camera as close as possible so you can see that. So we're going to use PC link 2, and on the board, right there, in white ink it says red. So you can see we have the one red wire here. So we're going to want to put that red wire closest to the red printed on the board. So you just push that in place all the way, just like that. And now on the PC link board, try to get a good angle on it here. You have M1 right there. So M1 is actually where the red wire will go on the PC link board. So again, you just line up the red wire with that pin, and there you have it. So that's all there is for that. Next, we will be wiring up our 6 wires on these terminals here. So the first ones are easy, and those are going to be the power wires. So I'm using 2 4-conductor wires. The wire that I'm going to be using, I've kind of marked on both ends. The one I'm using for power, just by folding back the 2 extra. So I'm just using red and black. It's like that on the same end, or on the other end over there. So red will go to positive 12, and black will go to ground. So plus 12 volt right here, ground right next to it. So just like that. And usually these would be going through the cabinet, through the back of the wall, but just so it's easier and easier to see, I'm not doing that in this case. So now we have 4 more wires that we're going to use on TX plus, TX minus, RX plus, and RX minus. So it doesn't really matter which wire you use for which, but make sure you keep track of how you're doing it. So the way I'm going to be doing it is I'm going to be using red on TX plus, black on TX minus, green on RX plus, and white on RX minus. So we'll wire that up. Now the reason you want to keep this straight is pretty obvious, because you'll want to make sure that each wire is going to the correct terminal on the communicator. Now I'll go over it again at the communicator, but one of our biggest mistakes is that people will wire TX to TX and RX to RX. It's actually crossed over, so TX will actually go to RX on the other end. So T stands for transmit, R stands for receive. So we're transmitting from the board to the receive of the communicator, and vice versa. And then positive, positive, negative, negative. So TX plus goes to RX plus, TX minus to RX minus, and vice versa. So we got those wired up. PC links in place, keeping the red wire in the proper position. So by red on PC link 2 and the M1 on the PCL 422. And that's the only wiring that we need to do in the cabinet. The interface module makes it pretty easy. You don't have to add any additional wires. Sometimes it can get pretty crowded in your key bus and things like that, so it's nice having something like this. Kind of keeps everything out of the way. So now we'll go to the communicator and do the wiring there. Alright, so here we are at the communicator itself. So let's start by opening it up. There's a couple tabs on the side here where you pry it open. Okay, so here is the terminals that we're going to be connecting to. TX plus minus, RX plus minus, grounded 12 volt. And to get the wire there, there's a couple slots to run your wires through. And some breakouts on the side here so that it lays flat against the wall. You know, you just run it through following the arrows. Just helps keep the wire locked in place. You can run it straight through the back if you have a hole in the wall, however you need to do it. In this case, I'm just going to run it straight through the back since I'm not too worried about it laying flat for the video here. Okay, so I'm using 2 wires again. I've already got the power wire marked just by folding these 2 wires back. And then here's going to be my communication wires here, the TX and RX wires. So let's start with the power wires. These are simple. Black wire goes to ground, and the red wire goes to 12 volt plus. Alright, now we got our red and black, and our green and white, or yellow as it usually will be. So red was going to TX plus on the PCL 422. So this is where the most common mistake comes in. You don't wire TX to TX, you wire TX to RX. So TX plus, which is the red wire on the PCL 422, will actually go to RX plus. So let's wire that in. And then our black wire was TX minus, so we're going to wire to RX minus. Green wire was RX plus, so it goes to TX plus. And the white wire was RX minus, so it'll go to TX minus. If I can get those lined up. Alright, then we can pull the excess wire out. Check to make sure that nothing's shorted, everything's snug. And then from there, just put the cover back on. That's all there is to that. Next step will be powering up the alarm system. Alright, so I've powered up the alarm system. And it'll usually happen pretty quick that it'll initialize. I like to give it about 10 minutes though, just to make sure. To check that it worked, first you want to make sure that all your LEDs are as expected. So I've got a few flashing here, which mean various things. My signal level, of course, we're in a metal building, kind of in the middle of it, so not an ideal location to place this communicator. So we have a pretty bad signal strength, but probably enough for our purposes for this video. So easiest way to check to see if it's worked is to enter *8 followed by your installer code, and then go to section 851. So as you can see, it says alarm.com module status. So if it says this, then you know that the panel and the communicator are talking to each other. Now, the communicator may not be talking to alarm.com yet, but at least the two are initialized together properly. If you just get here, enter subsection, when you go to 851, that means that it did not work right. So it could be a wiring issue. Usually that's the case. It could be that you wired it up before you did the programming and it just didn't initialize properly. So from here, once you've done that, it's best to go to communications test, and it'll actually force the communicator to try to talk to alarm.com. So you see test signal OK, and then check central station port. So that's good. That means that communicator's talking to alarm.com. And once you've reached this point, you should be able to then, if you've gotten with us to get your alarm.com account set up, at that point you should be able to log in using the welcome email that you would have received. So one last thing I'm going to show you is how to get the serial number. So generally, people will send us a serial number as soon as they open the box. You can get it off the back of the communicator. It's on a sticker right there. It says SN, and then it'll have the 10-digit number there. If you've already got it mounted on the wall, though, you got to this point, didn't send it to us, communicator is mounted. You could pop it open, and it's printed on the communicator as well, on the actual circuit board. But a really easy way is to actually go into programming to 851, and then you're going to go to alarm.com module status, and then just scroll over a couple times, and you'll get to SN, and here's the serial number for you. So if you get to this point, still didn't send us a serial number, it's pretty easy to get right off the keypad. That's all there is to it. Just make sure you keep a few of those things straight. Make sure you do those programming steps first, and be sure you have all your wiring done properly. Wiring is the biggest mistake we see with these communicators. Hopefully this video has been helpful to you. If you liked it, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.